مشاهدي العربية أينما كنتم، أهلا بكم في الحلقة الثالثة من برنامج ولايات الحسم. نحن هنا في شارلوت في نورث كارولينا، هذه المدينة التي تعتبر ثاني أكبر مركز مالي في الولايات المتحدة بعد نيويورك. طبعا هذه الولاية من الصعب جدا التنبؤ بها. صوتت للرئيس ترامب عام 2016 وصوتت له مرة أخرى عام 2020، لكن كاميلا هاريس تأمل في تحويل هذه الولاية لأنها ستعتمد على الصوت الناخبين من أصول إفريقية التي ترى بأن هناك ربما حماس كبير لأنها هي المرشحة بدلا من الرئيس بايدن. لكن سنرى إذا بالفعل استطاعت الحصول على هذه النتائج في 5 نوفمبر. قبل ذلك سنذهب إلى تقرير أعده الزميل حسين الطوضي. إليك حسين.
نعم نادية، رغم أن اسمها نورث كارولينا أي كارولينا الشمالية حسب الترجمة الحرفية، إلا أنها تحسب على الجنوب الشرقي للولايات المتحدة الأمريكية ويفوق عدد سكانها 10 ملايين نسمة. وفي التقرير التالي سنعرض المزيد من المعلومات عنها. هي ثاني أكبر ولاية متأرجحة بعد بنسلفانيا من حيث عدد الأصوات في المجمع الانتخابي ب16 صوتا، بعدما حصلت على صوت انتخابي إضافي إثر تعداد سكان عام 2020، وتأتي في المرتبة الثامنة متعادلة مع جورجيا فيما يتعلق بالأصوات الانتخابية. تحولت نورث كارولينا في هذا السباق من ولاية تميل إلى الجمهوريين إلى ولاية متأرجحة بعد انسحاب الرئيس جو بايدن من السباق وفق تصنيف كريستال بول الذي يعنى بمراقبة الانتخابات. في السباق نحو الرئاسة تعد ولاية غير ضرورية لفوز الديمقراطيين، لكن لا يمكن أن يخسرها الجمهوريون. وفي انتخابات 2020 كانت نورث كارولينا الوحيدة المتأرجحة التي فاز بها ترامب على جو بايدن.
Together we will win North Carolina in an epic landslide. We're way ahead in the poll.
فمنذ عام 1968 فاز الديمقراطيان فقط في الانتخابات الرئاسية في الولاية، هما جيمي كارتر عام 76 وباراك أوباما عام 2008. ونظرا لأهمية الولاية زارها المرشحان أكثر من مرة، ويتركز الديمقراطيون في مدنها الرئيسية مثل رالي ودرام وتشارلوت، بينما يتركز الجمهوريون في مناطقها الريفية. والوضع الخاص لولاية نورث كارولينا هو أحد الأسباب التي جعلت حاكمها الديمقراطي روي كوبر على قائمة كاميلا هاريس المختصرة لمنصب نائب الرئيس قبل اختيارها تيم وولز.
شكرا حسين على هذا التقرير. نورث كارولينا تتمتع بتنوع جغرافي جعلها مركزا هاما لزراعة التبغ وتجارة الخشب ومحاصيل مثل القطن والصويا. تشتهر الولاية بمناظر طبيعية خلابة من سلسلة جبال في الغرب إلى السواحل التي تجذب السياح في الشرق. عدا عن التنوع الثقافي والإثني، فإلى جانب الغالبية البيضاء التي تقطن الأرياف، هناك 20% من الأمريكيين من أصول إفريقية. طبعا هذه الانتخابات ليست فقط انتخابات رئاسية، بل هي انتخابات أيضا لمجلس النواب ومجلس الشيوخ وحكام الولايات، وسيكون لديها تأثير كبير في التشريعات. الجميع يتحدث عن حتمية هذه الانتخابات وبأنها مصيرية للناخب الأمريكي. Is this election consequential for the American voters? What are the main issues, especially in swing states, including North Carolina?
It is. Look, anytime there's a presidential election, anytime we're looking at the different worldviews, right, as to where is our nation going to go, I think these elections are really important, and even in the swing states, because they know, those people in those swing states, they know that their vote matters more than some of the other safer states. So my hope is that they will take this election seriously, that they will listen to the candidates and kind of look into the future as to what each candidate is bringing to the table, and not necessarily just vote down party lines. Because I think that if we vote down party lines, we're not really doing our civic duty as Americans to do our part to make sure that our nation continues to provide prosperity and opportunity for all of us.
How do you frame the issues? Is it the economy? Is it the border? Is it immigration? Is it abortion? How can you convince the independent voter to vote for your party?
Yeah, two very little simple things. The economy. Look, things are so expensive today. You know what, you go to the grocery store and you come out, you can't go to the grocery store without spending $100. You know, you can't buy lunch anymore and it costs you $18, $20. That wasn't the case 4 years ago. You know, the economy was doing a lot better. You know, people weren't struggling as they are struggling today. You know, and you can't deny that inflation went up. You can't deny the numbers. The numbers don't lie. You can try to spin them however you want, but inflation is one of the most important things in the economy. The Biden administration and Kamala Harris has done a terrible job in handling our economy. The second thing is the border. There's another failure, right? We are being invaded. You know, it's a quiet invasion, but when you have 10 million people come into your country and they're doing it illegally, that's an invasion. It's just fortunate for us that we're not having bombs and missiles and bullets like other countries are having to do it. But there are loss of life because these people are bringing in drugs, fentanyl, you know, there's sex trafficking, there's a human trafficking, there's all other kinds of things that are happening. So because they have failed to stop or close the border, now we're having an invasion in our own country.
So what are the major issues you believe in this election for North Carolinians?
I think healthcare, even though we thought we had we're going to the right place, there's still a desire to bring us back, and that's really bad. I'd like to think gun violence would be still up there, regulation of guns. That comes and goes, because the state really has a strong gun lobby still. And that frightens me, given the level of violence in our society and that we don't control who has the guns. I think that's still out there. And most certainly reproductive rights, even though there is a strong religious movement that wants to not recognize it, and only for certain people it's protected. So I think those are big issues in North Carolina. We do have a large immigrant population in North Carolina, and that is a concern, that we have immigration reform, and that's been locked in Congress, and so there's no dialogue there for any advancement.
Abortion is also equally as important issue. In this case, Vice President Harris has a winning card. Do you believe also that Republican women in the suburb are fearing this ban, and what President Trump says, we leave it up to the states?
I think so, and what's so unfair about that is they say she's pro-abortion, which is so wrong. That is so wrong. I'm raised Catholic, and I don't believe in abortion as something that we should promote, but I have no problem saying if there was a reason to have one, a woman was violated, a woman is in a place in her life, she's got to make a judgment call.
Absolutely.
That's not my place. It's not,
or the government,
or the government's place, or any man's place for that matter. And I do believe members that are affiliated with the Republican Party would feel this way if they're truthful to themselves. And we have elected leaders whose wives have had abortions, including Mr. Mark Robinson's wife. She claims she's embarrassed by it now. Well, I'm sorry, you took advantage of it when you were able to. So why would you deny somebody else that right, rather than risk them dying in a backroom procedure? Why do we want to go backwards and hurt people more?
So we're talking about North Carolina, one of the swing states. So what makes it a swing state to start with?
Well, it is, I like to say that North Carolina is many states because you have the cities like Charlotte, like Greensboro, Winston-Salem, the Research Triangle, Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill, very much urban, very democratic in some ways. It follows like any city. And then you have more rural areas, very rural areas. You have the Western Mountains, you have the coastal beaches, and you have the suburbs, which is really, the suburbs are booming. So you have so many different political interests, and it's very difficult to appeal to all of them. So it's quite an interesting state when you think about it. Also, even when you look at how people are registered for voting, it's pretty much 1/3 Democratic, Republican, and Independent. So you have all the folks trying to appeal to the few people who will swing the state.
So what makes the state tick or flip, if you want?
Yeah, I think I like to say it's purple with a reddish tinge. It's interesting though, in federal elections like the presidency and senators as well, it has seemed recently to go more Republican, though I will add that it's very, very close. In fact, though Trump won it in 2020, I believe it was his narrowest win of any state. It was a little over 1%. So yeah, that makes it tip.
So you're a volunteer with the GOP.
Yes, I am.
In a swing state, North Carolina is a very important state, although it voted for President Trump twice, 2016 and 2020. What, as a volunteer, what exactly you do, and how do you hope to convince the independent voters or the swing voters that President Trump is better than Kamala Harris?
Okay, well, Trump has a proven track record where Kamala has a zero positive track record. All of the things that she's been doing with Biden the last 3.5 years have been detrimental to our country, and our country is in great peril. To the opposite end of this, Donald Trump, when he was in office, did amazing things for our country. Our economy was better. The illegal aliens were controlled. Among many other things that he did, the wars were basically non-existent. Now, as a volunteer, what I do is many things. I put up signs. Well, you see today, I came here to get more signs.
Right.
And by the way, the opposing team are pulling up our signs. That just shows you the type of people that they are.
You know, North Carolina has voted for the president twice, but the Democrats are hoping to flip the state.
Yes.
Because they believe maybe minority votes, African Americans, might be more excited to vote for Harris than voted for Biden.
I don't see that. I don't see that in my neighborhoods because of the signage that's going up. I don't see that on the news. As a matter of fact, all the polls that I have seen, and I look at all of them, I only look at the facts. I'm not interested in the fluff. I'm not interested in the word salads. Yeah. I'm very interested in the facts. So the polls that I see here in North Carolina and nationwide, it appears that the minorities are more for Trump this time than they've ever been. And that's very exciting. He is for the people. There is no question.
Ladies, talking about North Carolina as the swingiest of all swing states. In the past, it's voted for President Trump twice. But now that we have a candidate who is of minority background, Asian and African, do you think that that will encourage people to vote for her?
I think her background is definitely something that makes people feel more inclusive. But I think it is important to recognize that even though that she has mentioned it, that's not the basis of her platform. And the fact that she actually is, of the two, the most qualified person as far as her experience being in the Senate and being a vice president, she's just the more qualified of the two. And I think a lot of people are recognizing the stability that she's going to bring to that office as well.
Do you think that's enough to convince people, especially in rural area in North Carolina, to vote for her?
I think so. Yeah, I feel like the atmosphere feels like when Obama was being elected. So in that time, you know, no one knew who he was, you know, and all these people voted, and it was such a big surprise. So I feel like that change is happening, like there's some kind of electricity happening, you know. So, but to her point, I think people are looking for who is most qualified as well, you know, and who can actually deliver. So,
correct.
Yes.
I mean, with all the statistics that I have seen, there's still people believe, especially in swing states, that President Trump is better on the economy than her, because so far she has not presented maybe a strong economic plan. Do you agree or disagree with this?
I'm going to say I disagree, because I think a lot of people don't recognize that a lot of times the person who's in the office may put policies in place, but it's really the administration that came before that they're benefiting from. So even though he may have been in the office for 4 years, it was really probably the policies that Obama put into place that they're now seeing the fruits of that benefits. He can claim it because he's there, but he didn't really institute that. So I'm hoping people start to really pay attention to the timelines. So was it stable when he, you know, they think that he can actually be on an economy? Possibly. But if you look at the policies he put in place, it actually has harmed the economy or harmed everybody's pockets, but they don't necessarily recognize it.
نورث كارولينا تضم أهم الجامعات الأمريكية، ومنها ديوك وجامعة نورث كارولينا. لكن هل يعتمد على شريحة الشباب والطلاب للتصويت في انتخابات وصفت بالمصيرية؟ So what do you think of either of the candidates when you say you're not going to vote for them? Is it because you don't know enough about them, or because you don't like them? And if you don't like them, why don't you like them?
I lean more towards Donald Trump, but I just don't want to go in either way because they're both pretty awful candidates, yeah.
Why don't you feel like you have the energy to go and vote on election day?
I don't know if it's really the energy problem. It's just more of, like I said, I don't have enough knowledge. I'm scared of, not really scared, but not know what to make the right decision on. So I'm not sure. So.
It has a lot to do with like abortion rights. Like that's a really important issue to me. I feel like everyone should have the right to exercise that right for themselves instead of being left up to the government. But that is like one of the main reasons I'm voting this year.
I honestly do not keep up with the elections. I should, but I don't. I have been looking a little bit more into this one, especially considering that, well, it's the VP of our current president, which is different viewpoints, because I would have voted last year, I didn't. So, but I don't know of any specific routes, I guess, that the current candidates are taking. I guess I should do more research on that.
Because I've seen it in the past, and especially with young people, we don't care about the Senate, we don't care about the House, we don't care about the governors, we don't care about the sheriffs, we don't care about the local politics, and that impacts us more day to day than the president ever will. And people don't understand that.
في العقود الأخيرة شهدت ولاية نورث كارولينا عودة للأمريكيين الأفارقة إلى الجنوب، خاصة إلى المناطق الحضرية مثل شارلوت ورايلي، حيث تتوفر فرص اقتصادية أفضل وتكلفة معيشة أقل. المجتمع الأمريكي الإفريقي ساهم في تشكيل ثقافة ولاية نورث كارولينا بشكل كبير، خاصة خلال حركة الحقوق المدنية. كانت مدن مثل دورام وغرينسبورو محاور رئيسية للنشاط المدني في الستينات، حيث ساهمت أحداث مثل اعتصامات غرينسبورو في إنهاء الفصل العنصري في الأماكن العامة.
Well, it's the same thing when Donald Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again." America has been great in many ways, but for everybody, it hasn't always been great. I was saying, in this home that I live, my parents couldn't have lived here because it's in a neighborhood that had covenants in the deeds that restricted Black people. I'm still alive now, and I'm the youngest of 5 children, and my 3 older siblings were involved in the civil rights movement. I had one brother that was arrested twice just for sitting at a lunch counter to eat, and he was arrested. So we've seen that's what systemic racism is. I think people were just locked out of jobs, homes, so many things, loans. There were women who you couldn't get a credit card in your own name. And then now some women who saw freedom in many ways are looking and saying, when it comes to health and reproductive rights, my daughter or granddaughter might not have as many rights as I did.
ما هو السؤال الذي يدور في ذهن الناخب المتردد؟ الجواب عند عضو الكونغرس غريغ لوبيز.
I think the best way that we can frame it is like look into the future and look back a little bit. Was your life better 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 4 years ago? And then ask yourself why. And if you're not happy with what's going on today, I tell people all the time, we live in a world we allow to exist. And if we don't like the world we're living in, then we need to do our part to change it. And right now, people have the opportunity to vote to change the direction we're going. If they don't like the direction we're on. If they like the direction we're on, you can still vote to stay us on that path. And so that's where I stand when it comes to how do we message? You decide what the future is going to be for you and what future do you want for you and your family.
من هاريسبرغ في ولاية نورث كارولينا والتي صوتت لصالح الرئيس ترامب وللجمهوريين عام 2020 سننتقل إلى الولاية رقم 4. هذه الولاية المتأرجحة تقع في الجنوب الأمريكي. لديها قواسم مشتركة مع نورث كارولينا، قواسم طبعا تتعلق بالتنوع الثقافي والإثني والاجتماعي. هذه الولاية كتب لها أهم المغنيين الأمريكيين أغنية شهيرة On My Mind. ابقوا معنا في الحلقة الرابعة لتعرفوا اسم هذه الولاية. إلى اللقاء.